Hey everyone, I'm Twan and welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to focus on a gun called the ZK-383, and it's a relatively new gun in Battlefield. It's been out for maybe 2 months, 2.5 months, and in my opinion this is the best medic gun available right now. And I'll get into a bunch of reasons why I think that's the case, but before, if you guys get a chance, I'll throw my Twitch and Twitter info up on the screen, so give that a follow if you want to see my live streams or just my general retweets and tweets on Twitter and whatnot. I'll tweet out my, a lot of times I'll tweet out my live streams when I'm going on air and doing that kind of stuff. So make sure to give that stuff a look. So without further ado, let's get into the ZK-383. So a while back, I actually used to do a lot of videos in Battlefield 1 where I'd pick out a gun that I really liked and I'd do some information on it. And I would always start with the real-life history of the gun. And so that's where we're going to start before we get into how it plays in Battlefield and all the different tactics to use with that. So the ZK-383 is a Czech submachine gun that was manufactured, it first started being manufactured in 1938. And if you know anything about history, that was pretty much right before World War II, and the plant where they actually used to make these was occupied by the Nazis. And actually a lot of these guns, when they were manufactured, there were probably about 20,000 or so that were manufactured. A lot of these guns ended up being used by the SS. And so this gun is really interesting because it was designed, yes, it's a submachine gun, but it was designed to be a squad support weapon, similar to an MG. And so it's got a lot of features that cross over between SMGs and MGs. And so some of the most notable stuff was it has a bipod that you can deploy, and it also has a ported barrel and a modifiable rate of fire. And so actually on the real life gun itself, you can't necessarily do this in Battlefield, although you can upgrade the rate of fire. But in real life, there was a weight that would be attached to the slide on the internals of the gun, and you could either take that out or change the weight that would be applied to the slide, and it would modify the rate of fire. And so in real life, this gun had a rate of fire that could be anywhere from 500 to 700 rounds a minute. And that would be changed just by changing out the piece of the slide. And this gun, obviously, it's a submachine gun, so it fires pistol rounds. So just quickly going back to touch on this gun's use as a squad automatic weapon and its interesting design choices. Aside from the integrated bipod, it also had detachable barrels in case of overheating, and it also had rifle-type sights, which were kind of unusual for submachine guns of this period, but as history moves on, like, some of these things become more integrated into submachine guns. The standard variant of this gun had 30 rounds in the magazine, and it also had a variant where you could have a 40-round box magazine. And this is actually something you can upgrade in Battlefield if you so choose. And this gun was used, aside from the Czech Republic and the SS, it was also used by a variety of different countries all the way up until the 70s. And among those were Bulgaria, the Slovak Republic, Venezuela, and Yugoslavia. So it had kind of an interesting list of countries that used it, but apparently it was very popular with those who did use it. Now, with a very general understanding of this gun in real life, I'd like to move on to its characteristics in Battlefield. And so this gun came out during one of the Tides of War assignments where if you completed the challenges, you would be awarded with the gun. Now, if you missed that, obviously you don't need to worry about that because you can pick this gun up for just a couple thousand company coin in the Battlefield store. And in my opinion, I think it's really worth it because it'll only take a few challenges to get enough coin to do it, and it's probably my favorite medic weapon. And so, once you have the gun, there's a few different specializations you can go with on the tree. And so the first of which is the light and stock, which allows you to move 60% faster while aiming with your weapon. And there's also the barrel bedding, which is improved accuracy in aim fire when stationary. Now, of these two, I chose to go with the light and stock because as a medic, I like to be on the move, and then with the bipod attachment for this gun, having the improved accuracy in aim fire just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. One, because I think the accuracy on this gun is already tremendous, but if you were just to lay down, you wouldn't really need this extra specialization. Moving on to the second ones, you get quick aim, which is aim down your weapon sights 33% faster, and the other is custom stock, which is improved aimed fire accuracy while moving. Now, I opted for the custom stock because with quick aim, I don't really use aim down sights too much with medic weapons when I'm up close and personal with anyone, because a lot of these guns have absolutely excellent hip fire. So, in my opinion, it was a lot more useful to have improved aimed accuracy fire while moving. Because as a medic, obviously, like I said, I like to play where I'm very aggressive and moving around all the time. And so it's very nice to have kind of pinpoint accuracy when you're on the move. Up next, if you take the tree that I have, your option is the extended magazine, which honestly is my favorite specialization for this gun, because it ups you from 30 to 40 rounds, and because this gun has a more moderate rate of fire, if you go with this specialization tree like I do, you get enough bullets in the magazine to get a few kills in just one magazine, and it really does not take very long to reload it. Now, if you go on the opposite side of the tree, you could opt for the light bolt, which, as we discussed about the real gun, if you take out the weight on the slide, it would up the rate of fire to 700 rounds. But in Battlefield here, if you go for the light bolt, which increases rate of fire in fully automatic mode, it ups your rate of fire to 720 rounds a minute. And the reason I didn't go with this was because I like the slower rate of fire guns. In my opinion, you can be more precise. It's a little bit less spraying. And with just the 30 round magazine, I don't want to be reloading constantly all the time. But if you do go with this, there's actually a nice specialization in the next part of the tree. And so, moving on to the next part of the tree, you can opt for quick reload, which is reload your weapon 15% faster, or you can go with high velocity bullets, which is your bullets are 10% faster, and it makes it easier to hit moving and distance targets. And so I went with the high velocity bullets because the 15% increase in reload time doesn't really make much sense for me, because it already has a very quick reload, in my opinion at least. So what I do is, I'll put some shots on people, and if I need to reload, I'll just duck into cover, super fast reload, and then you're back in the fight. And so personally, I feel like the tree that I went with makes this gun the best it can be, makes it the most adaptable to different situations, which is kind of what you always want. And in addition, the high velocity bullets make this gun amazing at range. I mean, even without it, I thought it was excellent at range, because you can really get some distance shots on people, but the high velocity bullets makes you a lot more efficient at it, in my opinion. So moving on from that, aside from the gun itself, I think it's also very important to stylize your class in a way that works, it complements your gun's benefits and pitfalls. So for me, I opt to go with as a sidearm, I like to choose the Mark 6 revolver, yeah, Mark 6. And then I also use a little bit heavier handed melee weapon. I opt for the pickaxe. And then grenades is kind of personal preference here, but I go with the incendiary grenade, and I also choose the medic pouch and the S-mines. And so for these, I feel like the reason I go with this kind of tree is that the incendiary grenade, when I push people, it's very nice to just have something really quick that can do some decent damage, kind of freak them out, because getting hit by one of those is not too much fun. As for the Mark 6 revolver, I opted for that because with pretty much I usually opt for this gun with any combo, because I like the high damage that you can do with it. So if you tag someone a bunch of times and you run out before you can finish it, just one shot from this pistol will do the job. And it just, if you have enough confidence to where you think you're going to hit the first or second shot, I think the revolver is an excellent choice. As for the S-mine, it's kind of up to personal preference. You could also take the smoke rifle, but in my opinion, because this gun is so good at range, I don't really need the cover of smoke to do what I want to do. Like, sometimes it is nice, but it's very situational, and so I feel like you get the most benefit out of having S-mines, because, especially for games like Breakthrough or Frontlines, I like to put the S-mines around the ammo and the medic stations, because that's where you're going to get foot traffic, and so it's just kind of a good way to be crafty and always kind of keep the enemy on their toes. And so that's what I like to run with for this class. And so up next, I think we should look at some tactics for using this gun. Before we look at tactics, or I guess it's kind of part of tactics, but I forgot to mention that on this gun I like to use the laity sights. I think that's how you say it. But the reason that I really like this is because, up close I prefer to hip fire, and so I'm not really aiming down sights a whole lot. I mean, sometimes I do, But for the majority, if I'm right up on someone, I find it's more efficient with the submachine guns to just hip fire. But also because this gun has an excellent range, it's really nice to be able to zoom in a bit more than you would were you to use other sights that are available for it. With that said, moving on to tactics, I kind of play the same general way with most of my medic class weapons. And so regarding this, I already kind of got into it a little bit, but I feel that it's best when you're up close on someone because of the excellent hip fire that those guns have to just hip fire, and then after, maybe 10 meters or so, that it really is best, especially with the lady sight, to zoom in and try to get as many headshots as you can, because ultimately that's going to decrease the time that it takes on each person, and then you can get on to the next person, get some nice clips. But when I play with this gun, I feel that it's really, really easy to be aggressive, especially in modes where you move from one objective to the next, because you can push in, hit fire, do whatever you need to do on the point, and then as they're either retreating or as you're moving on to the next sector, you can still get people out at range, and it really becomes a hard thing to deal with because this gun is really, really flexible in my opinion. In general though, I think it's really easy to be aggressive with this gun because despite its slower rate of fire, even when you come up against other SMGs like the Thompson that has, a way faster rate of fire, or the Suomi, if you're just accurate with your shots, a lot of times you can still beat them. I found that when I unlocked the Thompson a little while ago, and when I started using it, I found that, when I get into one-on-one gunfights, a lot of times I'd be getting beat by this gun. And I think that maybe the slow rate of fire turns people off. They think just because they're not putting as many bullets out as someone else's gun, if you're accurate with it, it is absolutely unstoppable. And so I think that you can be very, very aggressive pushing points and pushing, wherever the enemies are coming from, pushing their, I don't want to say respawn, but pushing their, their bases. You can get some very, very nice plays, or even if you're defending something, you can get some very nice plays as well because, like we talked about before, this gun also has a bipod, and so you can either support your teammates as they move up, or you can get in on the action and push yourself. And so, I've said this a million times, but I think that the flexibility this gun offers is something that makes it absolutely invaluable. And the reason that I think personally that this is probably the best medic gun in the class right now is because of the different ways you can play with it. You can really do anything. It is really a do-anything gun. And that is something that is kind of lacking from the other guns in my opinion. Like, take for example the Thompson. The Thompson is excellent when you're up close and personal, but as soon as you get out at range, its effectiveness really drops off. And the same thing, it's less true for the MP40, but I feel like this gun is just a little bit more flexible because like the MP40 has an incredible hip fire, but even when you're out at range, like I feel like you would still be getting beat by this gun. And I'm of the opinion that this gun was designed to play this way in Battlefield because of how it was designed in real life. It was designed to be a mix between a support weapon and an up-close SMG. And so it really allows you to play that way when you're playing in Battlefield because of the excellent range that it has and also its effectiveness up close. So that's what I have for you guys on the ZK-383. If you guys liked it, if you enjoy it, do leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. Let me know what you guys think about playing with this gun in your own experience. If you think that I'm crazy for doing this or if you agree completely, absolutely leave a comment. Let me know what's going on. Aside from that, if you guys get a chance, be sure to check out my Twitch and Twitter. I'll get those up on the screen again for you guys. But with all that said, I'm Twan, and thanks for watching my video.